And welcome into a new video. Today we're going to be going over the AFC East of their draft grades. Yesterday we did the NFC East, went over obviously the Giants, the Cowboys, the Redskins, and the Eagles. So if you missed that one, go check that one out. As well as if you are a Giants fan like I am on this channel, go check out the Giants full draft grade review that we did a couple days ago as well. We're pretty much just going to go division by division throughout the whole NFL. We'll probably do a double upload tomorrow. So I think I'll probably maybe the NFC and AFC West, just kind of move it around, but we'll see what happens. But I think I'm going to do a double upload tomorrow. But this one's going to be the video for today. So please leave a like on the video if you do enjoy. If you do like the content on the channel, please be sure to subscribe if you are new. If you're part of the 97% of viewers that do not subscribe but watch these videos, it does help me out a lot. So thank you so much for that. And we'll get it started right away with the Buffalo Bills. Now, Buffalo here had a good amount of picks. They ended up with 7 picks. Obviously, didn't have their first rounder because they basically selected Stephon Diggs with their first round pick, which is awesome for them. And then you go to the second round. Towards the end of round 2, they got AJ Epinesa out of Iowa, a defensive end, a guy who I had as a top 25, top 30 prospect, in my opinion. Easily a first round grade for me. I thought he's just an absolute beast as a defensive end. And now for him to line up against the competition in the AFC East with Ed Oliver, I mean, it's going to be really fun to see what he can do. I give this one an A+. I think the value was insane. To get him anywhere in the second round would have been good. I thought he would have went a lot earlier in the second round, but for him to fall all the way to 22, for them to sit pretty at 22 and still walk away with one of the best edge rushers in this draft class, I think that's just an insane value pick there for the Bills. AJ Epinesa is easily a solid pick for them. Going on to the third round, they selected Zach Moss out of Utah. Now, when you look at Zach Moss, I gave this one a C+. One, I don't really think running back was a spot they should have went after, especially this high. I think they could have helped out maybe a little bit more on the defensive side, went offensive line here. Definitely could have done different things, but they decided to go running back to pair with Singletary. I think that's due to Frank Gore's departure, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong, but I think Frank Gore is not on the Bills anymore. Maybe wrong about that, but let me know. But anyway, I think that Singletary is going to need a power back there. This is a good power back to have. He had a very productive career year at Utah this year. Utah was just a very good college team this year, surprised a lot of people. But I don't know. I guess it's really just to get a bigger body out there. I just think this is pretty high for Zach Moss. I had him kind of as a later. I had him as a day 3 guy, pretty much, is where I was. So I guess, towards the end of day 2, it's not a horrible pick, but overall value-wise and positional value-wise, I just think that this was a kind of a weird pick for them. But, hey, it might help out with Singletary's workload in the backfield, so we'll see how it does. But I did give it a C+. Then we go over to round 4, and they took Gabriel Davis, the kind of tall receiver out of UCF, 6'2". He's got to learn a lot. This one I gave a B+. I like him as a prospect, but he's going to be definitely somebody you're going to have to build for a couple years. And that's okay because right now Beasley, Brown, and Diggs are going to be fine. But, after this year, you might want to get a little bit younger than Beasley and Brown. You could do that with Gabriel Davis. He could turn out to be something good. He doesn't really have the speed to blow past people. He's not really a guy who can just get past anybody, really. He's not the best route runner. It's just he's got good hands. That's really where you're going to be at. So hopefully he can learn how to do other things a lot better and become a better maybe number 3, number 2 receiver in a couple of years. But overall, he's going to take some time to learn. I'm grading this one right away, like how he is right now. So it's going to be a B+ for me, but he could be better. But now here we go with the later day 3 picks, and my goodness, the Bills went off. For a team that didn't even have the first rounder, I can't believe they came away with a draft class like this. Jake Fromm out of Georgia in the 5th round. Not just the 5th round, the end of the 5th round. I had him as a very early day 3 guy, maybe late day 2 even. I didn't think he was the best prospect. I think he could have stayed a year, but for them to get him to back up Josh Allen in the 5th round, because in the 5th round you're drafting backups, You're not drafting guys who you think will start anytime. These are guys who are going to be able to back up your quarterback. And getting a guy like Jake Fromm to back up Josh Allen, we saw what happened when Josh Allen went out the past few years. The quarterback play is pretty poor, if you ask me. You needed to get a guy who can actually go in there and game manage. I think Jake Fromm will be able to do that. I think that he's going to be a good replacement for Josh Allen if an injury is to happen. But overall, he's just going to be a backup. That's all he's going to be. Maybe he'll progress into something good. You can send him off for some value, but overall, I mean, to get him in the 5th round as a good backup, I think that is a very solid pick for the Bills. I give it one an A+. Then we go over to the kicker out of Georgia Southern, Tyler Bass. He was my number 1 kicker in my draft class. I obviously had him as a 7th round grade, but We started to see kickers go in the 6th, 5th, 7th rounds, so it's not bad to put a 6th-round pick on a kicker, especially if you believe in them. And this is the best kicker in the class. I think that this is an A-plus move. Hauschka is not an answer. You need to move on, and I think Tyler Bass will be able to do this. I think he's going to be able to do very well at the next level as well. So we'll see what he can do at the next level, but overall, just from a prospect standpoint, I think that he's going to be a very solid kicker at the NFL level. That's why I like this pick here. Then we go over to the later sixth round, and Isaiah Hodgins, 6'4" out of Oregon State. I really like him as a prospect. I didn't see him and Gabriel Davis that far away from each other as prospects, so for them to be that far away in the draft class is kind of concerning to me. But I mean, when you look at Isaiah Hodgins at the end of the 6th round, I gave it an A+ as well. That's 3 A+ in a row, and I'll give you a hint. It's probably gonna be another one. He's really good. He's got pretty much all the traits that Gabriel Davis has. He's a little bit taller, but he's gonna have to learn how to become a threat after the catch, just kind of like Davis has to do. But overall, he's got good hands. He's decent route runner. To get him in the 6th round, you're pretty much not really going to use him right away as a receiver. It might be more of a really far depth receiver, but used for special teams, being a gunner or something. But I think he could be very good. I think he can translate to the next level. I think there's a possibility that you find a hidden gem in the 6th round. So we'll see what he can do next year for Buffalo. But we know Josh Allen's arm needs some weapons with it, and John Brown was a very good weapon for him. We need more people that can take the top off. So Hodgins and Davis, I know they can't do that right now. Maybe they can progress. And then we go into the 7th round, almost the end of the 7th round. They select Dane Jackson out of Pittsburgh, a guy who I had a mid-4th, 5th round grade as. So for them to get him basically at the end of the draft, I love this pick as a value pick. This is an A+ for them. Like I said, I had him pretty much in the middle of the draft, about round 4, round 5. And for him to be falling this far and for them to get him, I think this is a guy who can progress, being a good corner 3, corner 4 first year. So this is definitely a guy that I think can progress into something good. I really like what the Bills did here. And for the whole Bills draft as a whole, I'm giving it an A+. There's things they could have done a little bit better. Zach Moss, like I said, I'm not sure how I really feel about the pick. I know they need a power back, I guess, but I don't see that as their second pick worthy. Same with like Gabriel Davis. I think they could have maybe went somewhere else in the receiver direction, but he's got the potential. I like the prospect. But other than that, man, especially after the Gabriel Davis pick, I mean, 4 A+ for me in a row. I really like these picks, especially for where they're getting picked at, their value. So A+ for the Buffalo Bills draft. You're gonna see this was a pretty good division to be drafting in. So we're gonna go on over to the next team, and that is going to be the Miami Dolphins. Now, when we go to Miami, first thing, Tua Tagovailoa, A+ for that. They sat pretty at 5. They still got him. There was no trade up by any other team to go and get somebody. The draft kind of played itself out, and Tua went. And I love Tua in Miami. I think that's a great fit. I don't know why Dolphins fans before the draft really didn't like the pick. It's a solid pick. This guy has the talent, probably more talent, more upside than Burrow has. But the injuries are the concern. That's really all the concern is. Right now, it's saying his hip is better than ever. It looks better than most people's normal hips that didn't get injured. So that's a very good sign. You have a year with Fitzpatrick still, and you still have Rosen on the roster. If you do not want to play him right away, this team is too talented to lose too many games, even without Tua right now. So if you think he's healthy by the season and he's able to start day one, I mean, that's going to be insane. The Dolphins have a chance to win this division if they do that. But I think Tua was a great pick due to his upside and what he's already bringing to the table. So I give that one an A+. We go to Austin Jackson at pick 18. I gave this one a B+. I thought this was a little bit early for Austin Jackson. I kind of saw him as a fringe late first rounder, most likely a early to mid second though. And it's just kind of weird. I thought maybe a Josh Jones would go here. He fell as well in the draft to the Cardinals in round 3, but I don't know. I just didn't really fall in love with this Austin Jackson pick like some people did. He's got the upside. He didn't have that productive of a year. He did donate bone marrow before the year, so we're not really sure how everything's going to be, but overall, this is an offensive line overhaul for the Dolphins. It's really what they needed to address was, can we get our offensive line better? And they did a good job of doing that in this draft. So Austin Jackson, I gave it a B+. Not a horrible pick, but just a little bit early for me. Then we go to Noah Igbenogany out of Auburn at pick 30. Traded back down a little bit to accumulate more picks. Ended up getting him here. A for that pick. I really like Igbenogany. He's got great speed. Both of his parents were track stars, which is crazy. So he's got the speed. He's got a talented corner tandem with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. I said Xavier McKinney. Xavier Howard. as their corner. So he's going to fit into that nickel right away, be a starter right away from day one, and probably be a very solid one. It's a little bit weird that they went corner this early because obviously I don't think it's that much of a need, but overall, the talent-wise, I think that's a great pick. Then we go on over to pick 7. I have Robert Hunt being graded as a B minus here. I thought this was pretty early for Hunt. I didn't see him as a fringe first rounder. I saw him as maybe a fringe second rounder. So them to take him this high is pretty high for me. That's why I give it a B minus. But it does help the offensive line. So if you saw him as the best guard on the draft board and you wanted to get a guard, hey, who am I to say that this is a bad pick? So B minus for this one. Not much to say. I mean, he's going to fit into that line, be a starter day one, and that's what you're looking for this team. So good pick there for the Dolphins. Then we go over to Raekwon Davis, A for that pick. I really liked Raekwon Davis coming out of Alabama. I thought he was going to be a mauler in the middle. A lot of people weren't liking him as much, but I think it's just such a deep D-tackle class that you were able to get a guy like this in the late second. He's still going to be able to produce. Same with Matabuke and Blacklock and all these guys that started falling. It's such a deep class that I think people were not taking him because they were expecting some of them to fall, and they all did. So Raekwon Davis there out of Alabama, love the pick. A grade for that one. Then we're going over to Brandon Jones out of Texas. Love the player. It's going to be A minus grade for me. I think it was a little bit early. I think he was more of a fourth round grade for me, but I love the pick here. I think that he's going to be a solid player at the next level. Should fit in well. Maybe take over that Bobby McCain role if you decide not to further Bobby McCain's contract. Even Rashad Jones, who's getting up there in age, maybe you look to move on after this year. He hasn't completely slowed down production, but he's definitely getting up there. So we're gonna have to look at what they can do. But overall, I mean, this is a very solid pick for the Dolphins. Get some safety help, and that's all you could ask for. Then we go over to Solomon Kindley in the 4th round, pick 5 in the 4th round. Solid pick out of Georgia. He's a massive human being. I gave this one an A. I mean, once again, you need depth, so why not get more? So you got Kindley, you got Robert Hunt, you got Austin Jackson. That's 3 spots out of the 5 that you could probably start right away. So definitely a solid pick. Then we go over back-to-back defensive end picks. Jason Strowbridge, I gave an A. I like the value here. I think that he's a very solid defensive end, especially 6'4", 275. He's big. You don't really know if he's going to be able to be defensive end more than defensive tackle. So it's kind of weird on where you can put him, but I think the versatility helps him because I think he's going to be more of a depth guy. A guy who I think is going to start right away, and I gave an A+++++ to is Curtis Weaver in the middle of the 5th round. This is a guy who I had as a 2nd round grade. I mean, early on in my early mock drafts, right as the offseason started, I had him going to the Seahawks at pick 27. And now he's fallen all the way to the 5th round, which is absolutely insane to me. I love what he does. He was super productive at Boise State. He has everything that you want as a tool of an edge rusher at the next level. I think this is a guy who's going to turn out to be a very good player at the next level. So Curtis Weaver falling this far was absolutely insane to me. They hit out of the park taking him. And then you go for a guy, Blake Ferguson. You got to give an A+. They take a long snapper, which is awesome. So what else can you say? I mean, how many times have you heard a long snapper get taken? Usually they get taken at their position or whatever it is, but no, he is a long snapper, and his brother was a long snapper. I mean, this is a great story. So you got to give him an A+ to take a long snapper in the 6th round. So props to you guys. Then we go to the 7th round where we get Malcolm Perry. I gave this one a B+ because Malcolm Perry's kind of a weird guy because he's quarterback or running back or receiver. You don't really know where he's going to be. He did a lot of production at Navy, but he's just a weird guy, which is, I mean, in the 7th round, basically the end of the 7th round, why not get a guy who can play pretty much any position on the offensive side? Use him as a weapon, use him in the return game, whatever you need to do. Maybe he doesn't even make the roster. It's okay. So I gave it a B+, just because he doesn't have a set position. It's kind of a weird pick, but overall, his production could turn out to be something of value in the 7th round. This is an A+ draft, though, for Miami. They had a lot of picks. We knew they were going to take a lot of picks, but to be able to get guys like Curtis Weaver, Brandon Jones, later in the draft, Kindley, as well as early on in the draft, you fill out the offensive line, you get a good corner, you get your quarterback for the future. I mean, this is a very solid draft class. Nothing to complain about here for Miami. Then we go over to the next selections for the AFC East, and we have New England. Now, you can see right at the top, New England didn't take a quarterback or a defensive tackle, 2 of their biggest needs, but it's all right. We'll go over what they did. So early on in the draft, I love their early on picks. Kyle Duggar out of North Ryan in the 2nd round. Really like that being their first pick. They traded back and ended up taking him here at pick 5. Love that selection there. A grade for me for that one. It's not an A+ just simply because I don't know how he's going to translate to an NFL level. He is a small school guy, but the Patriots and Belichick love small school guys. They love to be able to grow these guys. I mean, we saw the video or the pictures of Belichick out there, and what was it, Middle Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State or something like that, scouting a prospect in the rain while everyone else at the Senior Bowl or whatever it was. I mean, this guy is a talented safety. If you watch him, yes, he's a small school, but he has the tools to be able to be a solid safety at the next level. So I like this. I think he's going to fit in well. Learn from McCourty as McCourty's up there in age and his contract's going down. So definitely a solid pick there for Kyle Duggar. Josh Uche out of Michigan in the late second round. I love this pick. This is an A+. I loved his. I just loved his game at Michigan. I think that he was kind of getting underlooked compared to a lot of the other edge rushers in the draft. But overall, I mean, this guy has the speed to be able to burst off the edge, and he bends very well. He's very good off the edge. I think that Patriots are a perfect spot because they are an edge blitzing factory. I mean, pretty much any guy that they put on there, from Rob Ninkovich to Chandler Jones, they are producing. You know, Winovich from last year from Michigan as well had a very productive rookie year. So for them to get Uche, same school, and be able to produce with them, I think you have another edge rusher that will be a good edge rusher for the future in Josh Uche. Then we go over to Anthony Jennings, another edge rusher there who I really liked coming out of Alabama. 6'2", 256. He is just absolutely beast at the edge position. He's a monster. He's just able to use his strength. He's got good quickness and everything. It's gonna be weird to see how he transitions, especially with Uche taken earlier, Winovich there. We're gonna see where he gets put. Maybe he takes a more of a Dante Hightower role. I don't really know exactly where they're gonna put him, but overall, I like the pick. I think it's an A grade, solid prospect. Then we get into the later rounds of the draft, and this is where it gets a little interesting. Devin Asiasi, out of UCLA. I did not have him that high of a grade as a tight end. They have him as rank 3. You know, not really my ranking for him, but I gave it a B+ because they needed a tight end. If this is the tight end they saw as the best, then what am I to argue? I liked Trotman a lot more. I liked Hunter Bryant a lot more. I liked what's his name as well? Bryson Hopkins. I liked him a lot more. So for them to take Asiasi late in the third round, just kind of seemed like a bit of a reach for me. Didn't see him as this high of a grade, but you know, if this is their guy, I'm cool with it. But then they come back and they take a tight end with their next pick as well, 10 picks later, and it was Dalton Keen. Now, this is a guy who I did not have graded anywhere near the third round, more of like a sixth round prospect. So for him to go this high was insane to me. I give this one a C-. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to get tight end depth, but with all the other talent there, like I said, everybody I just mentioned for Asiasi, they still passed up on them 10 picks later for Dalton Keen. So hopefully they see something in these guys that none of us can, which is usually what happens with the Patriots. But overall, didn't really like the pick. Then they go over and get Justin Rohrwasser from Marshall. Solid kicker. He's got a big leg. That's really what they were looking for. I gave this one a B because they need to fill Gostkowski's role. Maybe this is the guy to do it. I mean, he's got the leg strength to do it, so we'll see what he can do. There's things coming out about his tattoos and stuff. I won't get into it, but he's already come into the league with a little bit of fire under him, so we'll see what happens with that. But overall, I think it was a solid pick. They need to get a kicker. They got a kicker. Then we're going over to Onwenu out of Michigan. I love this player. I think it's the perfect spot for him. I think he was probably a round 5 guy, so for him to be in round 6 is good. He is huge, so I gave this one an A. Very solid depth piece. Maybe you can transition him to a starting role within a few years, but overall, I think that his upside is there. I think he's a mauler at the offensive guard position. Really like the pick here in the 6th round. They got 2 more 6th-round picks. They start off with Justin Herron after Onwenu. I gave this one an A. I really liked Herron as well. Get another big guy as an offensive tackle, team captain, 4-year starter. He says it right there. I think this is a perfect spot for him. 6th round, middle 6th round. I think this is a guy who, once again, can develop into something. Patriots are really good at developing players, especially in those later rounds. We've seen that with Brady, with Edelman, with pretty much anybody that they've ever drafted has turned out to be solid if they were in day 3. So never count these guys out. Justin Herron, I think, was a very solid pick out of Wake Forest, so that is an A grade. Then we go on over to Cash. I'm just going to say Cash, which, first of all, badass first name. But Maluia, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, unfortunately. But I give it a B+. Didn't really have him as a draftable player. I thought he would be a UDFA. But for them to pick him in the late 6th round, it's not a horrible pick. Going to be a good special teamer, I think, is really what they got him because he's undersized at the linebacker position. But overall, I think that he is going to be a solid linebacker. Patriots are good at making special teamers, so I think it's a guy who's going to be a beast on special teams, maybe even transitions. And then we go over to the Memphis center, Justin Woodard, out. I already said out of Memphis, but whatever. C+ for this one. I just didn't have a draftable grade on him. I just think this was a weird pick. usually in the 7th round, I feel like they would go more special teamers. So maybe get a long snapper, maybe get a punter, or maybe even, I mean, obviously they have a good punter, but like just get something different that can help with special teams. Another guy like a cash, maybe a corner or somebody like that would have helped out a lot. But to take a center here just seemed kind of weird. Don't even think he'll make the roster. So gave it a C plus. Overall for the Patriots, I gave it a B because they really did hit on their day one picks. I think Keen was pretty much the only weird one to me. I think Asiasi was a little bit of a reach, but I understand it. Other than that, I think you got a kicker. You got very good depth here in Amanu and Haran later on. He's got a good special teamer in Maluia. Really, the only picks I don't necessarily agree with are Woodard and Keen. So overall, it's a solid draft class. I'm gonna give it a B. And now, almost 20 minutes or over 20 minutes into the video, we're finally getting to the Jets, and we'll try and fly through this one as well, so we are not going to take up too much of your time. I'll give you a hint. This draft class was one of my freaking favorites in the whole draft. I mean, this is one of the best draft classes I've seen. Joe Douglas really knows how to do it there for now the Jets. Obviously, he was with the Eagles prior, but Mekhi Becton, pick 11, A+. They needed offensive help on the line. Bell had a very unproductive year. Obviously, a lot of this has to do with Adam Gase. Darnold had the kissing flu. So, you need to protect him. You need to protect, whoever can come in for him. Obviously, we saw Simeon go down, unfortunately. So, Mekhi Becton, when you look at it, I think it's a guy who's going to be able to maul people on that left side. He's going to need some help. He's going to need to be able to maintain that weight and produce well. But overall, if he can do what he did in college at the next level, I think it's a very solid pick. I think he's going to be a good fit for the Jets here. So, I give this one an A+. Then we go over to Denzel Mims in the late 2nd round. This is an A+++++ pick. This is a guy who I had as a first rounder. I had him going kind of towards like the Minnesota range in that first round. So for him to fall all the way to the end of the 2nd round was insane to me. Every time somebody was picked, I was like, oh, it's got to be Denzel Mims, right? And they wouldn't get picked. I was like, this is insane. How is he falling this far? So for him to fall all the way to pick 27 is absolutely insane. And for them to swoop him up, they needed a receiver. That was probably their biggest need, and they passed up on CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, all of them in the first round for Mekhi Becton to help that offensive line. And then they get a guy who is a first-round grade all the way at the end of the 2nd round by sitting pretty. Or it says they traded from Seattle, but it's still the end of the 2nd round. I mean, this is a guy who, I mean, how is he there? How is he there? That's pretty much all I could say. Like I said, A++++++ pick. And then we go over to the California man, Ashton Davis. This is the pick they got from the Leonard Williams trade. They traded Leonard Williams for basically Ashton Davis, and I think they got a 4th rounder from us as well. One of these, I think. We'll go to it later. But Ashton Davis, I love Ashton Davis as a prospect. Early on, I had him as a fringe first rounder. Kind of fell to a middle day 2 guy, so about where they took him was a perfect pick. I give it an A+. I think it's going to fit well. I think he's going to be a great safety. Obviously, they have Marcus May and they have Jamal Adams, so there's going to be different situations that they're going to be put in. He's going to have to kind of move around, but overall, I think it's a guy who's going to be able to do a lot. Maybe you try and transition him to a corner. Not really any white corners in the NFL, so that'd be kind of weird to see, but he's definitely a solid player. He was a track runner, one of the best track runners in his high school and even at the college level, and then he goes and transitions to football and became an absolute beast at it. So for him to be there, I think that he'll be good. Maybe fill in for Marcus May if they don't decide to extend him. Whatever the case is, I think that Ashton Davis is a solid pick here. A+ for them. Love the pick. Same here with Jabari Zuniga out of Florida. I mean, this is a guy who was an absolute production machine out of Florida. Very good off of the edge. I gave this one an A. I think it was a little bit high for him. I don't see him as a 3rd round. I kind of see him in the 4th round, kind of early day 3 guy, but it wasn't that high of a reach. This is a guy who I think was going to be a solid player, and we're going to see what he can do next year for the Jets. I think it's a guy who could probably fill in to what they wanted in their defensive line. They want an edge rusher, but they keep drafting these bigger guys, Leonard Williams, Quinnen Williams, etc. So finally they get a guy like a Jabari Zuniga that can go to the outside and just absolutely maul. So love the pick there from out of Florida. And they stick with Florida in about basically 1 round later, almost to the dot, and that is LaMichael Pirine, running back out of Florida. I give this one a B+. I think that it's solid depth behind Le'Veon Bell, but you have Le'Veon Bell, which is the weird part. So I didn't really see running back as even a thing they should look at all in this draft, because Bell deserves pretty much all your undivided attention. But getting Pirine behind him, he's not really great at anything. He's good at pass catching, which is good. But he doesn't really have strength. He doesn't really have size. He doesn't really have speed. He's just kind of a good solid runner. So I think he's going to learn well behind Bell, who's kind of the same thing. He's not really the size, speed, or strength kind of thing. He's just a great running back. You can't really tell. So maybe LaMichael P. Ryan's going to be able to blossom from learning from Le'Veon Bell, and we'll see from there. But I really like the player. I think is a good spot for the player. I just thought it was a weird pick. That's the only reason why it's not in the A category, because I didn't see running back as a need, especially this high, but B+ for Michael P. Ryan. Then we go over to James Morgan, the quarterback out of Florida International. I just want to B. I thought that if you're going to take a backup, why not go after a guy like Fromm? But they sat here. They kind of just went, hey, let's take a quarterback. We saw what happened when we had to play Luke Falk last year, so we need something to help behind Darnold. This is a guy who I think can transition to the NFL level and be a solid backup. I think it's pretty much his ceiling. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter, but a solid backup is pretty much where I see him as. One of those guys where if you forget to draft somebody in a fantasy rebuild in Madden 21, you could take a James Morgan and progress him. But all jokes aside, he's decent. He's tough. He's got size, 6'4", 229. He showed pretty decent at the what do you call it, the combine, which is kind of where a lot of people kind of understood who he was, where I pretty much understood who he was. I understood where he was going, but never really sat down and watched his tape. I did after the combine, but overall, I think he's solid. It's about where I had him, 4th round, so can't complain about it. I probably would have went Fromm, in my opinion. Then we go Cameron Clark out of Charlotte. Smaller school, but I love this pick. A- for me. Get more depth on the offensive line. He'll be able to compete with Udoga and everybody else in the offensive line. Move him around wherever you need, just because the offensive line needs to have some identity. And we'll see what they can do next year with the offensive line. Then we go over to the 5th round, Brice Hall. This is an A+ for me. Brice Hall was probably a early day 3 guy, late day 2 guy for me. I really liked him out of Virginia. Like it says right there, team captain, 3-year starter. He has all the tools to be a solid corner at the next level. And to get him all the way in the 5th round, this is a guy who can start for you right away. And I love that, getting that value in the 5th round. I think you're going to see in training camp that this is a guy who can start right away for you. He is a really good pick. Obviously, you don't get C.J. Henderson in the 1st round, and you didn't take corner all up until here. You still got a guy who I think will be a starter. So overall, solid pick. And then they went ahead and took Braden Mann out of Texas A&M, best punter in the draft in the 6th round with their last pick, A+. It's pretty much as simple as that. He's best punter in the draft. What else do you need from him? Best punter in the draft. You got him as your last pick. How are you going to complain about it? Solid pick. So overall, for the Jets, that's an A+ for me. Really, the only picks I didn't consciously agree with was James Morgan and LaMichael P. Ryan. They're not even bad picks. They're just I probably would have went somewhere else. Maybe went corner here instead of running back, but I understand why they went P. Ryan. I see the upside. He plays a lot like Bell. A lower version of Bell, and then James Morgan, same. I think I would have went Fromm, but overall, I understand why you get it. You need a backup quarterback behind Darnold. We saw what happened last year with it. So A+ for this draft. So overall, that is going to be it for the AFC East. Let me know what you think about all these grades in the comment section below. Let me know what your team did, how you feel about your team as well. Let me know if I made any mistakes on anything as well. It does help me out. If you haven't subscribed already, please do hit that subscribe button, as we're growing constantly on the channel, doing a lot of NFL content throughout the offseason. I've said it before, we do Superstar KO Sundays. If you missed out yesterday, you can get it on Twitch next Sunday. We're going to be doing a lot of rebuilds with the rookies. Not too many, because I want to save a lot for Madden 21 as well, but we're going to be doing rebuilds on Madden for those guys, as well as our Giants franchise, and plenty of other draft content, prospect content, grades, and stuff up in the upcoming weeks. So be sure to look out for that. But without further ado, that is going to be it for me. If you haven't already, like the video. If you did enjoy, if you didn't, be sure to refresh the page, check it out again one more time, and that is going to be for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.